All right, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Suresh Govindachetty. I work as a senior enterprise sales engineer with Sumo Logic. And today I am going to walk you through a live demo of Sumo Logic's Kubernetes solution, using which you can confidently monitor, troubleshoot, and secure your Kubernetes environment. Before we get started with the live demo, some housekeeping stuff. This recording as well as the slides with you post this live demo. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A section. There is a Q&A button over there. Please go there and then raise your questions there. And then once the demo is over, I will answer all your questions to the best of my ability. So let's get started with the live demo now. So we are looking at a Kubernetes environment. What are the challenges that we see in efficiently administering a Kubernetes solution? So there are challenges like there are more things to monitor. We all know Kubernetes has a lot of components. So when we have a lot of components, there are a lot of things that we need to monitor. So when we have a lot of things to monitor, we also see that all these things are very ephemeral in nature. So we see new pods coming up, we see containers spinning up, we spawn down things. So the cluster administers everything. So there are a lot of things which keeps changing, which are very ephemeral in nature, and that makes efficiently monitoring, troubleshooting, administering, securing the cluster far more complex. The workload is spread across many different tools, which means the administrators, the security professionals, they may have to look in multiple tools, multiple interfaces, multiple places to correlate the story themselves together. So bringing all your data in one place where you can seamlessly navigate to understand and then get an idea about your cluster is very, very important. So this is where most of the traditional tools fail. Rather than trying to design a solution which is for Kubernetes, the traditional solutions try to fit the Kubernetes into their environment, which is where the solutions do not work. So these are predominantly infrastructure focused, which is not meant for a dynamic environment like a Kubernetes. Lack of correlation makes things very difficult. So you need to stitch a mental map of everything yourself. So you must have a ability to seamlessly navigate between various different entities, hierarchies, etc. within Kubernetes. If not, then you may be looking at multiple tools, multiple interfaces, which means there is a fragmented visibility, and you may be not be looking at what you need at any given point in time, which makes administering the cluster far more difficult. So this is where Sumo Logic actually scores. So what I'm showing you is the Sumo Logic interface now. And for this particular demo purpose, we have this a cluster, which is a Kubernetes cluster, prod01.travellogic.info. And here you can see I actually have this demo cluster over here. And using this demo cluster, I can see that I can see various different namespaces. This interface looks very similar to the Explorer sort of a view. And I can actually choose different views depending upon what I want to see over here. Say, for example, I'm going to get into any one of those namespaces. And then from these namespaces, I can see details about the specific namespace here. So I can see the number of pods running, pods by error, total pods, any pods which are facing errors, etc. And if I come down a bit, I can see the honeycomb views, which clearly show the status of various different services over here, followed by a lot of metrics, which I can see, which shows the health of my cluster. And I can actually go to my cluster overview here. So with the cluster overview, I'm actually going to see the status of my cluster. So here I can see a lot of metrics which shows the health of my cluster. I'm looking at CPU utilization, memory utilization, CPUs, total memory. And if we come down a little bit, I can see errors by namespaces, top 10 security rules which are triggered, which shows the security aspects which are covered in the Kubernetes solution. Below this, you can see the various different namespaces, and then the honeycomb view shows the health of various different pods. The colors helps to immediately catch if something is not good, which requires our attention, etc. And coming down further in this particular dashboard, I can see various different namespaces covering various different metrics, which shows the health of my cluster, like the CPUs by the namespace, terminated and waiting by namespaces, etc. You can see all those different namespace stats. You can see the node stats, etc. Or I can also change my view here. I can come here and then I can see my node view. And here I can actually choose any node that I have inside my cluster. So here I can see my cluster has a couple of nodes. I can choose any one of those nodes, and then I can see the status about my nodes, which is like something very similar to a infrastructure sort of a view. and I can see the CPU utilizations, memory, disk. We can see a lot of metrics covering the health of my nodes over here, along with the various pods, the CPU utilization, memory utilization, the pods, etc. So this is a explorer-based view that I'm showing you now. And how did we build up this type of a view, right? So this is where the data collection part comes into play. So with Sumo Logic Kubernetes solution, we collect data in the form of logs, events, metrics, and then security from your K8s cluster. And for collecting this data, we use the open source based tools, the Fluent Bit, Fluentd, Prometheus, and Falco respectively. So with Fluent Bit, we run this as a daemon on all the nodes, and the Fluent Bit basically collects all the logs and then it sends it into the Sumo Logic. So the Fluent Bit is lightweight as well. So we use the lightweight Fluent Bit for collecting the logs. Similarly, for collecting the events, we use the Fluentd. So basically with Fluentd, we look into the API server and we pick up all the events, and then we pass it on to the enrichment pipeline. And with metrics, we use Prometheus. There are a lot of advantages in using the Prometheus. Prometheus has an auto discovery feature, which helps us to identify all the resources which are present inside a cluster. And Prometheus also does a good job of collecting the metrics as well as storing the metrics, etc. For security, we use Falco. Falco is an open source based solution that we provide as part of a Kubernetes cluster, and you can decide your own rules, etc. Apart from Falco, we also have a couple of partners with whom we have built our solutions. I will walk you through as part of this live demo. Once we collect the data in the form of logs, events, metrics, and security using the Fluent Bit, Fluentd, Prometheus, and Falco, we run all of this data to a centralized enrichment pipeline. So this is our secret sauce. So what we do as part of this enrichment is that when we collect the data, we tag the particular data with information like which particular pod that particular metric or a log came from, which particular container, node, namespace, etc. But we also ensure that we tag all of this data consistently, so we know any given data which has come from which particular pod, node, container, namespace, which particular cluster, service deployment, etc. So this helps to seamlessly navigate between logs, metrics, security. So you can use the Sumo Logic Kubernetes solution as a DevSecOps solution. Once we do this enrichment, we send this data to Sumo Logic, and that's where the visualization part begins, using the built-in dashboards as well as the Explorer view I showed earlier. So to gather all of this data, you don't have to install these agents separately. We support a Helm-based collection method. So using our Helm chart, you can install all of these components. We automatically install all of this. We collect the data, we do the enrichment, and then we automatically send it to the Sumo Logic solution. So when you run the Helm chart, you need to basically provide few details like an access ID, key, etc., and then a URL where we can securely receive this data. That's all is required. So once you set up the data collection using the Helm charts, so the data will start flowing into Sumo Logic, and then you can start visualizing all of them. So I'm getting back to the Sumo Logic interface over here, and then we are actually looking at a demo cluster, which is actually now set up to receive data in the form of logs, events, metrics, etc., including the security one. So I have a lot of other interesting dashboards here for this particular demo cluster. I have a cluster explorer. So using the cluster explorer, I can see the status of my cluster. This is showing all the nodes which is part of my cluster, and just hovering over the node shows me the metric as well as the health of my various different nodes. Similarly, I can see the relative CPU usage by pods. I can see the CPU details by node, pod memory details, all of them over here. Similarly, I can also see there are security dashboards which are built over here. So this is a security overview, which is created from the solution that we have built in. So here you can see the various different rules which have been triggered over here. So you can see the total number of events. You can see there are a lot of critical alerts which have been detected, the errors which have been detected, etc. So you can create your own rules as well. So you can see the rules which have actually triggered, and then it's just populating this particular dashboard. I can get into a detailed view as well using the security rules triggered. So this is the Falco rules which are seeing over here. So the rules which are triggered is shown over here. So this is for the last 15 minutes of duration. And you can get all these details about the various different rules which have triggered and the ton of other metrics which helps us to investigate the security incidences that we see in the particular cluster. Your cluster can be a self-managed cluster, or it can be a cluster that you are running out of the various different public loads, managed cluster as well. So you can see the control plane dashboards for the EKS, GKE, as well as the other AKS as well. And you can also see there are dashboards which are there from our partner apps as well from the security perspective. So having seen this, I would like to show you how you can do a quicker monitoring as well as troubleshooting of your cluster. So I'm actually looking at this Travelogic cluster over here, and I would like to go to a different view. I would like to start with my namespace view. So this is a namespace view. And for this particular demo cluster, I can see all those different namespaces here. And from here, I can get onto any of my namespace details. So for example, I'm opening up my prod login namespace, and then I can see all those pods which are under this particular namespace. And then I can look at the health of all of my pods from here. Similarly, I can change these views here. I can go into, say, for example, a deployment-based view, and I can see the health of all my deployments from here. So I'm moving into those deployments. Let me go into a Sumo Logic namespace, and then I have a couple of deployments over here, and I can go to any one of those deployments. Say, for example, I'm getting into a Fluent deployment, and this shows me the status of all the pods which are there in this particular deployment. This is a demo environment, but in the production environment, you will be seeing your own data over here. And from here, I can get onto any one of my pods as well. I'm just choosing one of the pods over here. And now we can see the views actually showing details about this particular pod. And from here, I can drill down to my container level as well. So here you can see I can seamlessly navigate between various different views. I can choose a namespace view. I can choose a node view, deployment view, service view. These are the various different views that I have. And from there, I can drill down further into my various different pods as well as the containers, which are part of that particular pod. So having seen that, let me show you how we can do a quicker troubleshooting using the Kubernetes solution. So I'm actually looking at the cluster here, and then I am actually going to see the cluster overview. So I'm actually moving into the cluster overview here. And here I can see some interesting things. I see the errors by the namespace. And the errors by the namespace shows that there is a Sumo Logic namespace which is actually facing some errors. So let me get onto my Sumo Logic namespace over here. So I'm going into my namespace view. And this is my prod login. And I can see Sumo Logic as well as the prod login namespace actually facing a lot of errors. So let me quickly show you the summary again. I can see the prod login facing a lot of errors. So I'm going to get onto my, say, for example, my prod login. I'm checking my prod login namespace now. And I can see there are 7 pods which are actually running. Out of this, I'm seeing 2 pods are actually facing errors. And you can see the colors showing the status of those pods to be in red. And I see my carbon black pod is actually facing issues, as well as the PagerDuty pod facing issues. And error by pods, this shows my PagerDuty is actually facing issues, but surprisingly, I don't see the carbon black pod over there, right? So I'm going to drill down further to find out why my carbon black pod is actually facing issues. So I'm opening up one more level from this namespace, and I'm getting onto my carbon black pod. So here I'm looking at my carbon black pod. I can see there is one pod which is actually showing up in red. And I can see there are, in fact, a lot of restarts, thousands of restarts, which have actually happened for this particular pod. And my pod even shows that there seems to be a lot of backup events, restarts, which are happening. And the memory, CPU, pod status, etc. My pod state actually shows that there is a crash loop backup state. And the green bar shows that the pod is actually getting started. And the red bar shows that this is out of memory getting killed, etc. So now I understand that the pod is actually getting started, but it is getting OOM error, and then it is actually getting killed. So I am actually going down, drilling down further to see the status of my particular pod over here. This panel is particularly interesting. CPU used, limits, request, memory usage versus limit versus request. Here, this clearly shows me that the limit has been set as 100M. But here I can see that my memory requests are actually exceeding this very frequently. So this particular case, it shows that because I'm requesting more memory than what has been set as a limit, the cluster is actually going to go ahead and then kill this particular pod. That's why there are a lot of restarts which is happening. Now that I know why there is a issue with respect to my pod, now I can go ahead and I can change my memory limits so that this pod continues to run without any issues. So this has been a straightforward use case. So the various metrics that we collect from the Kubernetes helps us to detect things going bad. They act like a smoke detector. So when something goes bad, I can immediately find out why things are actually going bad. From these various different colors, I can understand the status of my various different services. And then I'm able to quickly arrive at why my particular pod is actually facing issues. And then I can now restore my pod. But there are also use cases where we have to look into the root cause of issues. And that's where we can help you to seamlessly get to the logs to troubleshoot further. So when we looked at this prod login namespace, so we saw two parts which are facing issues, the Carbon Black as well as the PagerDuty one. So I'm going to get onto my PagerDuty pod now. So I'm going to my PagerDuty, and here I can see there is one pod which is actually in red. Similarly, to the last use case, are thousands of restarts that we see over here. And we come down a little bit, then I can see that there is a loopback. I see the pod is actually starting up. The green bars show that. And if I see, the reason is shown up as an error here. Right. So we come down a little further from here, then I can see the panels. The memory usage limits request seems to be all okay. I'm staying well within the memory limits. I'm not able to make out anything more than this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get onto my logs to see why my particular pod is actually facing issues. So all I need to do is that I come to the metric, and then from here I can seamlessly navigate to my logs. So I'm going to open up all my logs for this particular pod. And here you can see the system is automatically picking up the logs for the same time frame for which I was actually looking into my dashboards. Now the system is actually gathering the logs over here, and I'm going to take a quicker look at this. So browsing down a little bit, I can actually see there are actually 4xx errors. The 4xx errors are generally related to authentication. So if I come down a little bit, then I can actually see the logs, and I can see things like I'm actually looking out for if there are any access IDs, keys, etc. And I do see the access ID and a key here. So let me go ahead and then take a look at what is actually happening in this particular system, right? So I am actually going to copy this particular access ID. And I am going to tell the system to find out what is happening to this particular access ID. And I will choose a slightly longer duration, maybe an hour, to cover all the incidences which are happening with respect to this access ID. Now I can see the system gathering all the logs related to my access ID here. And now I see there are 22 results. I can go through all of these results, or I can ask the system to do a log reduce. Log reduce is a patented technology from Sumo Logic, and what log reduce does is that it goes through thousands of log records, and it groups them by related patterns, which we call it as signatures. In this particular case, we had only 22 results, but even if you have hundreds or if not thousands of records, the log reduce is going to work in a very similar way as what you saw now. So it will look into these logs and it will group them into related patterns. So it is easier for us to go through all of them. So I'm looking at the log reduce results here. And here I can see there is a user from the SOC team who seems to have deleted this particular access key. So now that I know that why the pod is facing issues, I can reach back to the security team to find out why they have deleted a key, and then I can look at restoring this particular service. Right. So we looked at two scenarios here. We made use of the built-in metrics monitoring here. So the metrics acts as a smoke detectors from which we are able to identify why the pod is actually facing issues, and we are able to restore the service quickly. And we also saw a second use case where we are able to successfully get onto the related logs from the particular pod, and quickly summarizing the logs actually helped us to identify why this particular service is actually facing down. So like this, we can look at the various different data in the form of the node view, the namespace view, service view, etc., using which you can quickly monitor this and then you can troubleshoot things. But you may be asking me questions like, Suresh, this is all fine, but how do I create my own dashboards and then how I can monitor them? So this is where you can build your own dashboards and then you can link it to the cluster. So I'm actually looking at one of the dashboards here, my first dashboard. It's a simple dashboard which is looking at things like the memory utilization. So this is a small query which is looking into the same travel logic cluster, which is a demo cluster. I'm actually looking at the memory usage bytes by the namespace of prot loggen. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm actually going to do a stack linking where I'm actually going to link this to my production cluster. So I am going here, create a stack linking, and then what I have here is a cluster, and my cluster is prod 01 dot travel logic dot info, and I'm going to apply this. And all I need to do is that I go back here and then I open up my Explorer based view, getting onto my cluster here. And I can see my dashboard being shown over here. So like this, we can create our own dashboards and you can link it to a cluster. So it becomes easier for you to get your own views when it comes to the overall monitoring, navigating to the related panels, and then you can create your own views, etc. And you can link them to your cluster. So this is a solution from Sumo Logic where you can look at service specific views. So when you have a traditional solution, you may not be getting the right set of capabilities to look into the cluster. The traditional tools that we have, these are complex. These are not built in for a Kubernetes sort of a solution. So you have to build your own mental map about what is happening for your cluster, your service, etc. Whereas the solution that we provide has a service-centric point of view. All the entities related to the namespaces or from the services or from the nodes can be easily aggregated together. So we can give you a service-centric point of view, which is simpler to understand. All the entities related to this particular service is actually clustered together. So it is easier for you to troubleshoot. It is easier for you to correlate things, as well as it is tightly connected to your reality, which is your cluster where you want to troubleshoot. We also have a couple of partner apps which have been built in from the security perspective. So you can do this DevSecOps, all the three together for your cluster. So we have Twistlog, StackRox, Aquan, JFrog X-Ray. These are a couple of partner apps that we have built in. So if you have an investment in any of the solutions, you can see those, you can visualize those dashboards here. You can see the Aqua Security, you can see Twistlog, StackRox. So these are all the dashboards which are there as part of this particular solution over here. That's pretty much what I wanted to show you as part of this particular live demo. We provide a 30-day free trial. So you can go to sumologic.com and you can register here. You can give your business mail ID and then choose the region where you would like to keep your trial account. And you will receive an email. Once you validate the email, your account is all ready and you can start ingesting data into the platform to do all your testing. We provide a 30-day free trial. Feel free to reach back to us where we can work with you to understand your business requirement you and your business pain points. So we can provide a solution using which we can address your solution, address your pain points. We are there in the Slack, so you can join the Sumo Dojo and you can interact with the Sumo community over here. We have 8,000 plus users who are already part of the community. So we invite you to come and then join us as part of this particular community. We also provide a lot of free training material. So once you get your Sumo Logic account, you can go to the home button, go to the certification, and you can see there are a lot of certifications that we provide. Let me open this, get certified, and you can see there are a lot of courses that we provide, and there is a Kubernetes course as well. So you can go through this course materials and you can get free certification from Sumo Logic. So here you can see there are a lot of trainings over here. You can see there are search mastery, fundamentals, administration, security, Kubernetes. So you can choose these courses and you can do your hands-on labs as well as the training material, and then you can do your certification. We provide free certification for you. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover as part of the live demo today. Feel free to raise your questions and then we'll be able to answer it now. There is a question where The question is, how is the Sumo Logic solution priced? Yeah, the Sumo solution is based on the amount of data that you ingest into the platform. So the amount of data in the form of GBs per day, the amount of metrics that you send into the platform, like 10,000 DPM, 20,000 DPMs. And finally, the storage, how long do you want to retain data within the platform? They decide the pricing. So feel free to reach back to us, and then we can work with you to provide you a solution that can address your investment requirements. I see there are no more questions. Thank you for joining the live demo today. Wish you all a very good day. Thank you.